What's the most broke you've been in your life? And can you tell us a story about it?
Most broke in regards to filmmaking, or
Sure. It's just a time in your life. We've been gathering stories about that.
Probably when I made my first movie, my first feature film. I actually produced my first movie for $500. Shot it in 3 weeks, between my house, my neighbor's house, and a friend's house that was like around the corner. So between like a 1 block radius, like and the way it happened is sort of like this is actually interesting. So I'd prepped to do my first movie. It was a whole totally different idea than what I ended up going with. I had done pre-production for maybe 2 months, and it was all going to take place in like this really big building. And the day before we were going to start shooting, the investor pulled out. It's like, oh, something came up. I can't do it. So we had prepped, myself, the cast, everybody. We'd done all this prep for 2 months. We had put like a deposit on the location that we were going to use, the building. We couldn't get the deposit back. So I think that happened on a Saturday. We were supposed to start shooting Sunday, right? So I get the news on Saturday. I call up the cast. Between Saturday and Sunday, I spoke to everybody. I said, look, this is what happened, and now we don't have a budget. We don't have everything we prepped for is pretty much we're at square one now. And I was like, I know you guys are ready to shoot. They had already people had taken off days and took off time to shoot a film. I said, look, we're going to shoot a movie. Give me a day and I will get back to you. But come, and now we couldn't shoot Sunday, so it was going to be Monday. I said, just give me a day. Come Monday, we're going to start shooting. So the way I ended up shooting my first feature was I would write the scenes that we were going to shoot that day in the morning. The cast would show up that day, get the scenes. We would go through the scenes, and basically we would shoot the scenes so that the same day they got the scenes, we shot them. There were action scenes in the film. I would have to choreograph the fights the day of and teach it to the actors the day we shot them. So we basically shot the film that way every single day. Like I would shoot that day and then do the work that night to prep coming into the morning. And we shot the whole movie that way. Most of the actors had no martial arts training. But I've actually developed, now this is also very interesting. I've developed a way of choreographing fight scenes over the years and making actors look like they know how to fight, and I use a sort of this chain link method where you take 3 or 4 techniques. We call it an exchange, right? So one exchange would be 3 or 4 techniques. You teach those 3 or 4 techniques to the actors. It's sort of a short burst of energy versus like just shooting a fight full on and people getting tired, and then that's how accidents happen, right? But you could get a short burst of energy out of them for 3 or 4 techniques, and in the edit, you use the last technique of that exchange. You would use that to cut into the first technique of the next exchange. And I actually learned that method from looking at, like when I was young, the barrel of monkeys, where they would have the hands that would connect and you pull them out of the barrel of monkeys. So that's how I learned to choreograph and then cut. The way I would cut is I would use the last part of that exchange as the first move. So even though you're shooting these tiny little bursts of of action, when you cut them together, they seem seamless because you always use the material from the last punch. So I guess to simplify that, if I have an exchange and the last technique of that exchange is a straight punch, right? The next technique in the new exchange is that same straight punch. You know what I mean? So that you're able to carry that over. And I'm using the straight punch from the second exchange, not the last technique of that exchange. So that way, it just seems like a constant stream of energy, like this nonstop sort of action sequence, even though it was like these really tiny bursts. So that way you can keep everybody safe, and you can sort of control how, you know, how things are done, and then you use composition based on like what's going to make that technique look the best. So you're able to hide their flaws and sort of show their strengths, hide their weaknesses, that sort of thing. But yeah, I think that whole 3 weeks of making my first feature with, I had no script, I had no, you know, I had to write it as we shot, and they had no prep, we had no money. You know, that's probably like the brokest I've been. But that movie got like worldwide distribution, and sort of, yeah, that also showed me like how much power you really have, like as a content creator, like how you can sort of create something, and even if it's in a rough situation, it can still do great things, and it can still be received well, and yeah, that just opened up a world of possibilities after that.
And then how confident did that make you going forward before every other shoot? Because you basically had the bottom fall out.
Yeah.
And you still made it work somehow? I mean, you had people that they could have been very mad, they took all this time off, whatever. Yeah. Everybody was probably like heartbroken. You made it work somehow. How does that build your confidence? Yeah,
I mean, it was great because I never gave them the impression that things were just, you know what I mean? I was very calm. You know, this happened, but this is what we're gonna do. You know, like I never made it feel like it was a problem, like just this thing that we couldn't get past, or you know, I don't know. It was just the way I delivered it to them, I guess. And then I think also because they had seen a lot of the other work I'd done, like the shorts and stuff like that, I think they were pretty confident that you know, we'd be okay. But I was very much, I was never like, look, oh my God, they did this, and I don't know what we're gonna, you know, I never did that. I was just like, hey, you know, we're gonna just change gears a little bit. You know, this is what happened. We're still making a film. Yeah, so I think just being calm and never sort of letting on how crazy things had gotten, I think I think that helped a lot. And to have it go so wrong and to be able to come out the other side with something that was like tangible, like, yeah, that changed everything for me. Like, you know, I just didn't feel like it was there. I didn't feel like there was anything I couldn't do at that point. I just felt like you just find a way. Like, you stay calm, you figure it out, you problem solve, and because if you strip away all the inessentials, right, when you get down to what a film really is, it's location, it's actors, you know, lighting, sound, you know, composition, storytelling, you know, and whether it's $100 million or $100, you can still tell a story if you have the tools, and you know, you can still tell a great story. It really isn't about the money at all. money helps. Money can make things grander or bigger or whatever. But when it really comes down to telling like a human story, you really don't need a lot to do that, you know. And yeah, that's what it taught me.
It's an excellent story.
Thanks.
That's great. I'm sure it wasn't excellent at the time, but
yeah,
that's really scary.
Yeah, I really didn't panic. Because I was so used to it. I was so used to making these things like the way I was making them, you know, like as a kid, like I was so used to just, okay, I'm going to write it, I'm going to shoot it, I'm going to edit it, I'm going to, you know, we're going to use this room or that room. Like, so to me, it felt like just going back to like how I started, you know, and I was comfortable in that. And I think that's the reason why I didn't see a reason to panic. I just was like, okay, we can't do that, but we can do this, you know. Yeah.